Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Big Sam's Long Balls podcast with me, Dan. We are up to a whopping 80 subscribers. We are on the road fully to 100 subscribers. I know that sounds a little bit silly, but this is a very, very small channel, and me and Chris genuinely are really appreciative of every single person who has hit that subscribe button down below. So please, if you have found our channel for the very first time, we are Big Sam's Long Balls podcast, and we like to talk about all football topics. So and give us a subscribe, join the community, and also send us a message. Get involved. Anyone and everyone is welcome to come on to this podcast and have a chat with me and Chris, or make your own videos if you want and send them in, and we will obviously upload them for you. So if you want to get involved at any point, just let us know. But yeah, close to 100 subscribers, which is genuinely brilliant. And puts a massive smile on my face. So thank you to everyone who has done that so far. Now, then, we are going to be talking about Liverpool today because Liverpool have been heavily linked over the past number of days to bringing in an exciting midfielder. There's been this sort of battle over this whole transfer window. Well, it's past sort of several transfer windows, let's be perfectly honest, where Liverpool have not signed a central midfielder ever since signing Thiago a few years back. And obviously, we lost Gini Wijnaldum the year after, and we've never really replaced him. So has been an area where I think the majority of Liverpool fans have wanted to see improvement. FSG and Jurgen Klopp himself have been incredibly reluctant to bring anyone in. However, a few days ago, excitement was building because Klopp seemed to suggest that actually maybe he was wrong, and that Liverpool do need extra bodies or extra help in the midfield area. They wanted to go out and they wanted to look for someone. So that was great. That was really, really exciting for all of us involved as Liverpool fans. However, over the past day or so, that excitement, I think, has sort of dwindled out a little bit. A number of reliable journalists who first sort of broke the news that Liverpool were looking for a midfielder have now sort of come out and said that perhaps Liverpool are not going to be there. They feel that there aren't any options out there that will improve this team. Now, I think that's up for debate. Certainly, I wouldn't necessarily agree with that, but we are believed to be, or rather, I should say, Liverpool are. The belief is in the football club that they are, first of all, looking for a Champions League quality midfielder. They feel that there is none available at this moment in time, whether available in the sense that clubs would be willing to let them go, or that the quality just isn't out there. I don't believe that. I don't agree with that. I think that quality has been out there all summer long. It has been out there last summer, back in January. There are midfield options. There might not be as many, with pretty much 48 hours to go at the end of the transfer window, but that isn't anyone else's fault but our own. Whether it's a case of lack of funds, a refusal to dip into the transfer budget, or just an arrogance potentially from Jurgen Klopp himself, from the coaches, from the scouts to go, actually, you know what? We do have the best options. Like I said, I think that could be debated. I certainly do not agree with that. I don't feel that our midfield is particularly strong. We have a number of injury prone players, and we also have a number of players who simply don't make the grade. To be very, very blunt, to be very black and white about it, there are a number of players in that midfield who should not be here. I think if you look at a prime example of Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, now I don't really want to go in on Ox because I do feel for him and I don't want to dig people out on this podcast, but Oxlade-Chamberlain, as we know, has been incredibly injury prone throughout his time at Liverpool. He was at Arsenal Football Club as well, so it shouldn't really be much of a surprise. He's never rekindled that form that he first had 5 or so years ago now. Whenever anyone sort of mentions Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain being at his best, we are talking about his first full season. So that in itself is a little bit of a worry. And, I think further worryingly for me with someone like Oxlade-Chamberlain is when he is fit, he doesn't make the squad because in the eyes of Jurgen Klopp and maybe Pep Lingers and the other coaches, is that he isn't good enough to be in the matchday squad. So I don't really understand how we can have that sort of viewpoint on the narrative coming out of the football club that there aren't better options out there right now when we've got players who, when fit, don't make the team and are on an awful lot in terms of wages. So I don't really believe that. It looks a little bit of a mess to me, for a team that the media has been spouting out about for a number of years, has had one of the best, if not the best, recruitment in the country. Now, I think that's been a fair assessment. Liverpool's recruitment at the top level has been excellent for a number of years. However, I think it's time where sometimes you can question the recruitment, and maybe it's time to refresh things up, not necessarily just on the pitch, but behind the scenes as well. Because if our scouts and everyone who's involved in signing players are coming out and saying there aren't any better options out there in that midfield, I don't think as fans, I don't think as owners, I don't think as a football manager, you should just accept that. I genuinely don't. I think you should question that, and you should put pressure back onto those. And if they cannot find anyone better than the options that we've got in midfield right now, then perhaps they need to be moved on themselves and someone else needs to be brought in to start looking for players, because that isn't good enough for me. There are a number of players who've moved around. You look at Nunez as a prime example, who's moved to Wolves, was heavily linked to Liverpool. By all accounts, he was incredibly desperate to move to Liverpool. Don't want to insult Wolves fans there, but he actually didn't want to move to Wolves at first. He was delaying the move. He felt that Liverpool were interested. He felt that he could move to a Champions League level club. But obviously that bid never came in for Liverpool and he went to Wolves. So congratulations to Wolves for that. But he does look like a player that could have come to Liverpool Football Club and certainly added something different. And yes, potentially improved our midfield. I think you can look out there at some of the options. I say available in the sense of they haven't been signed by anyone else, but they might not be available because clubs don't want to sell them. That's absolutely fine. But you can look at Thuram from Nice. We've done a podcast on that. A very young player, box to box, energetic, can help out defensively. He can play that number 8 and that 6 role that we seem very, very desperate to be looking for. I think you can look at Kone from Borussia Mönchengladbach, can do a very, very similar role. Both players potentially available for less than £30 million. I think both players would come in and I think they would be first in quality, maybe not a first, as we've seen at Liverpool over the number of years that Jurgen Klopp has been here. Whenever he has signed players, they have taken an awfully long time to bed in, but I think after a while those players would fit in at Liverpool Football Club. I think you can talk about Youri Tielemans at Leicester City. Now, I don't think that Youri Tielemans would be my number one midfield target, but I do think that he would offer something different at Liverpool Football Club. I think he would add quality on the ball. Maybe his running stats aren't quite where you want them to be, but I think that's something that can be improved upon. I think I don't buy into any of the narratives out there that when they say that players can't run, I think that's just a choice. Players choose not to, and it depends on the manager whether they are allowed to do that. I think any player brought into Liverpool Football Club wouldn't be allowed to act like that. So if we did go and sign a Youri Tielemans, I'd imagine that his running stats and things like that would improve drastically. I think he's also fantastic on the ball. His quality on the ball would be probably better than the majority of our midfielders, probably barring a Thiago. Probably only Thiago, to be perfectly honest. I'd imagine he would be a stronger option than Naby Keita as well. So, but Youri Tielemans wouldn't be my ideal summer signing. But with all three of those players I've just said, I'd imagine they would all be less than £30 million, maybe Kone being the most expensive, playing for Borussia Mönchengladbach currently. But I do believe that €30 million would go and get him. Youri Tielemans potentially being the cheapest, where Leicester might be accepting £16 million for him. So some potential bargains out there. Now, that's someone with 80 subscribers on YouTube doing a football podcast, just briefly sort of looking at potential players in his spare time. Are you seriously telling me that these scouts who are paid an absolute fortune to do this, and this is their job, cannot go and find someone that would fit this Liverpool team? We seem so desperate right now to be signing a Jude Bellingham, wanting to spend 100 million on him. And I don't really get it. It doesn't seem the FSG policy. It doesn't seem the Liverpool ethos, the Liverpool way. We're looking at individuals right now. It was similar a few months ago when Liverpool was so keen to go and sign a Kylian Mbappe. Now, this may sound a bit ridiculous, but I don't want a Kylian Mbappe anywhere near this football club. I don't think he'd fit the structure of the team. It would put us into incredible debt. All of these things that would go against it. But Liverpool seem to be going for some big name transfer targets, which, okay, is exciting. But I'd much rather go and get players who would fit this Liverpool team and be a lot cheaper and things like that. So the model seems to be changing, and I don't quite understand why. Anyway, regarding Liverpool, Jurgen Klopp and FSG, I want to talk about did Liverpool lie? Because I think that's going to be the title that I really use for this video, because Liverpool don't tend to talk about transfers very often. Over the past number of years, we haven't done. We've been very, very quiet. You have some top tier journalists, someone like a Fabrizio Romano, let's use as a prime example. he very rarely tweets about Liverpool. He very rarely talks about Liverpool because I don't believe he has very good sources inside Liverpool Football Club. Not every single journalist is going to. So Liverpool are very particular about who they inform, who they let know. And for Jurgen Klopp himself to come out and say that, he was a little bit wrong, he does want to target a midfielder, they are going to go for someone. It seemed to suggest that maybe that deal was further along the line than anyone knew, that maybe they'd made contact with the club, with a player, and potentially that signing was, close to being completed. Liverpool very rarely come out and say things like that. So it's got some of the conspiracy theorists up and going. Was this Jurgen Klopp's way of fighting back against FSG, demanding more funds, or was it because John Henry came to the game against Bournemouth and was obviously a few days after that press conference? Was it a bit of a deflection tactic? To take some of the potential heat off John Henry and FSG if he comes over after Jurgen Klopp has just said that Liverpool will be looking to sign a midfielder? Does that sort of appease everyone and then obviously make John Henry's trip a little bit nicer? I don't know about that, but that's just some of the theories out there. Let me know in the comments down below, guys, some of your thoughts about that. What I would say is some of my beliefs on this situation right now. Going back to what I was just saying a few minutes ago, with the articles coming out that Liverpool cannot find a midfielder that would improve Liverpool Football Club. Now, obviously, I've mentioned about the scouts, and I think if that is a situation, you should be looking at that scouting technique, that scouting department, and be putting pressure on them and saying that's not a good enough answer. Equally, I don't necessarily believe that, and I think that itself could be a bit of a deflection technique from the football club, because it's basically a case that FSG, our owners, they don't want to spend the going rate. Now, if we don't want to spend the going rate, and the market is crazy right now, I'm not an FSG apologist. I'm not a particularly FSG out. I do want to see more investment. I do want to see Jurgen Klopp being backed more, but I want to see smart signings. I want to see the right signings. Of course I do. I'm not really that fussed about a Bellingham. I'm not fussed about a Barella, who we have to spend £100 million on. I just want to see the right players come in, and I want to see them come in now, and so that we don't have to waste another season and we can properly challenge, because we are already, we've got a mountain to climb already with the start that we have. I think if we continue that without sort of investing in that midfield, then it could be a really, really difficult season ahead. But I do want to see Liverpool go out and sign the right players. But like I said, I'm not an FSG apologist. I'm certainly not an FSG apologist. If anything, I would lean more to the FSG out. But I'm not FSG out fully. I just want to see a little bit more ambition from these owners, because I do fear that if we don't back, or if they don't back Jurgen Klopp, then what happens once Jurgen Klopp leaves? If they don't back him, who will they back? And that does worry me, I must admit. But anyway, some comments that have been made in the press conference today from Jurgen Klopp. He was talking about Scott Parker, and once I saw this sort of quote, I knew this was going to upset a lot of people. It did feel a little bit like of a slimy comment potentially. But he said, when I heard the Scott Parker news today, I realized how important it is in this moment to have the right owners at the football club. Now that just felt like, that was going to appease the FSG lovers. It was going to rile up those people who absolutely despise FSG. But, he's a very clever man, Jurgen Klopp. He knows what he's saying. He doesn't, that kind of comment is going to upset a lot of people, because people in that football club will know that the fans really aren't that happy right now with potentially the lack of transfer activity regarding our football club. He's also said signing players never makes sense if they are not the right ones. Why would you do that? Again, some of these comments to me just seem a little bit daft. I don't think Liverpool Football Club are the only club in world football who have this narrative of let's sign the right players. I'd imagine that is the case for pretty much every single football club out there. They want to sign the right players. Obviously, if you look at Chelsea and Manchester United right now, they are splashing the cash. They are spending that money left, right, and centre. I don't think we're asking for even half of that. We are just asking for a little bit more ambition. Three midfielders that I said earlier, all available for less than 30 million, one potentially being available for half that. I do think it's quite poor that Liverpool aren't interested in any of those deals. I'm not careful. We get told what's possible and what's not possible. That's it. And we try to work it out, and that's it. The whole discussion about which players we need, I understand it. but we have an existing team as well. This was the bit that I didn't like. I must say that this is a bit that sort of frustrated me. There's no criticism. We became champions in the season when we didn't sign anyone. That's the bit that angers me because I don't think that's something that we should be celebrating. Obviously, winning the Premier League was fantastic, and we should celebrate that. Of course, we should. It was the best moment of my life, in terms of like football, not the best moment of my life. That would be a bit sad, but the best moment of being a Liverpool fan was watching us win the league, and it was ruined a little bit, obviously, with COVID and things like that, and the fans couldn't be there. But still, the achievement was absolutely monumental. To beat this Manchester City team in a title race is incredible. However, that sentence, we became champions in the season when we didn't sign anyone, that is worrying, really, really worrying, because let's add some context to that. Obviously, we did sign someone. We signed Adrian on a free that summer. But the season beforehand, we just won the Champions League and we just gone toe to toe with Manchester City. And it was probably our first proper title fight under Jurgen Klopp. I'd say it was our first actual real title race that we took really right to the end. And then we took it literally to the end. We missed out by a point the day where Manchester City went away to Brighton and we had Wolves at home. And it was that sort of bit of where everyone got really excited because Brighton went 1-0 up. And then obviously Man City did their thing. We missed out on the league by a point. And then the action from FSG was to go, we'll bring you in, Adrian. I think it was on a free, something like that. Either way, obviously not a lot of money. And that's it. Now, I don't think we talk about that enough because history goes, well, Liverpool won the league that season, so that should be success. We should look at FSG in glowing light. But I disagree because I think that's actually a real shame in some ways. It makes it better that we won the league without signing anyone, but I don't think that's something that a manager should be bragging about. I don't think it's something that a owner should potentially be bragging about. So that comment from Jurgen Klopp does worry me a little bit. I think it's something that fans can maybe brag about when we're having banter back and forth with United fans and Chelsea fans and City fans. Go, yeah, well, we won the league and we didn't sign anyone. We spent no money and we still beat you. Ha ha ha. But for a football club, that shouldn't be the aim. I think it's quite poor that once imagine a football club and a brilliant manager goes and wins the Champions League. They finish 1 point behind winning the Premier League title or whatever league title it is. And the owner's response to that is to not go out and spend any money. That's awful. And I think it sums up FSG to me, because I think if these owners had real ambition, they would go to Jurgen Klopp. Those years ago, the season that we won the title, and we would have gone, you know what? You are the man. You are absolutely the man. These players are incredible. You only missed out by 1 point. Because of that, we are going to back you. We're going to back you to the tilt. Now, I'm not saying going and spending 100, 200 million, but going, just showing a little bit of ambition of signing a couple of players that transfer window would have shown that ambition from FSG back then. Actually, yeah, we really want that Premier League title. We didn't. We won the title. It's great. So we don't really talk about FSG. But for me, winning that title is all about Jurgen Klopp. It's all about these players. It's about this coaching staff. It's not about FSG. And if anything, we won it in spite of them, not because of them. We won it in spite of them. Now, you may disagree with that, and that's absolutely fine. And if you do, then please comment down below or come onto the podcast and we'll have a chat. Like I said, I'm not particularly FSG out. I don't think they're the worst owners in the world, but that ambition isn't there. That desire to win league titles is not there. The desire is Champions League qualification. And this is what is worrying me a little bit. I do, some of the things that Jurgen Klopp is saying, he is starting to sound like a bit like an FSG apologist, in my opinion. Everything is really bigging up FSG. And look, at the end of the day, he works for them. No matter how much we love him, they are his boss. They can get rid of him at any moment they want. As ridiculous as that honestly would be, and they wouldn't want to, that is obviously a possibility. So no one is really going to go out and slag off their boss in public. Football managers don't do it. We've just seen a result of Scotty Parker potentially doing that over the last sort of couple of weeks or so, sort of suggesting that maybe he's not been happy with the transfer activity and potentially happy with the ambition from the owners, and then he's gone straight away. So football is a very ruthless industry, and owners, including FSG, will get rid of Jurgen Klopp if they feel that he's causing problems. However, what does worry me is the things like, the ambition is Champions League qualification. Can we not say things like that publicly? That might be the ambition behind the scenes, but we don't want to hear it. Not when we've been falling second relentlessly to Manchester City. Obviously, winning the title was amazing. It was amazing, but we want to win more than that. And I don't think that makes me and other people a bad fan because we want FSG to go out and invest just a little bit more and back our manager. I don't think that makes us bad fans. I think this fan base is very, very split at this moment in time. It's incredibly toxic. You either have to be FSG out or you have to be a real lover of FSG. And I don't think you can just be in the middle and just want FSG to kind of really just invest a little bit more, because the majority of what they've done is really, really good. But we just want to see a little bit more ambition on that football pitch. But the comments that Champions League qualification is a worry to me. I think it upsets a lot of fans. It sort of it does show that there is a lack of desire to go and win titles, to go toe to toe with teams like Manchester City and be relentless. One comparison that I think I'll make before I end this video, because I'm aware that maybe this video is going to be quite long, and I don't really want it to be, because I don't want you guys to be so bored of just listening to me ramble on about FSG. But I'll end it with this. Let's talk about Arsenal. The last 10 years, really. Of Arsene Wenger, a brilliant manager. He'd won Premier League titles. He got into a Champions League final. And the response after a while from the owners was to sell players, was to not really invest. Something that FSG haven't really done. So it's a bit of a difficult comparison. I get it. But a manager that permanently, when in press conference and interviews, defended the owners, protected them, had title races, but based purely on his own quality as a manager and his coaches and his ability to draw the best out of those players. But again, never really was backed in the transfer market. The ambition from the owners was top four. Arsene Wenger then had to spew this out publicly and had to face the backlash. A manager that, when his squad was depleted with injuries, was never backed in the transfer market. Arsenal fans always had to listen to Arsene Wenger come out and say, what's the point in signing a player when this guy will be back in 5 to 6 weeks or whatever it is? Jurgen Klopp has literally said almost a direct quote at times over the past number of years regarding people like Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain and Naby Keita when players have been out injured. I see the comparisons there. I see owners that didn't want to invest, that wanted Champions League qualification. That was their main aim. Anything above that was an added bonus, and a manager who was constantly having to overachieve with the tools that he was given, and then was relentlessly tasked with defending the owners publicly throughout all of this. It does worry me, and I see a comparison there. I hope I'm wrong, and I hope that FSG and Liverpool go out and sign someone in these next 2 days. Again, a Barella, a Bellingham, it's not important to me, but just the right midfielder, whether he's 5 million or 200 million, I don't care. I just really hope that FSG can go out and sign someone within these next 2 and a bit days. Now, if we can, then hopefully we can really challenge this season. If not, we'll still hope for the best. But anyway, guys, comment down below your thoughts on this. How are you feeling as Liverpool fans? Are you fed up? Are you absolutely fed up with FSG? Or do you agree with this transfer policy? Let me know in the comments down below. And like I said in this video, if you ever want to come onto the podcast, or if you ever want to make a video regarding Liverpool or any other football club, just let me know. And we can always arrange a podcast, or I can always upload one of your videos on any thoughts that you have on football. So get involved. That's what we want on this channel. We want interaction. Anyway, so thank you so much, guys, for watching. If you enjoyed the video, leave us a like, comment your thoughts down below, and subscribe and join the Big Sam Longballs family podcast community on the road to 100 subscribers. So hopefully we'll get there very, very soon. So thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you very soon.